Monday, back at it.
Fun day.
Christmas next week, which is the best holiday.
'Tis the season.
I mean,
Santa!
let's be honest, Christmas is without a doubt the best.
It's awesome, man.
Right? It's not even an argument. We're on Rumble now as well. Excited about that.
Yeah.
Rumbling up. If you're on Rumble, make sure you subscribe and do all that jazz on YouTube as well. And if you haven't seen Lady Ballers, go to Daily Wire Plus.
Who hasn't seen it?
Who hasn't seen it? I think everybody's seen it.
Yeah.
I think us and Godzilla -1 are just like rocking the box office right now. But we got a lot to get to. It's crazy already. Bowl season has begun. We're going to break down the craziness from this past weekend. The Bills obliterate the Cowboys in another NFL blowout. And we're discussing the possibility of Nick Saban, the GOAT, retiring if he wins his 8th national championship this season. I'm Jay Crane. Welcome to the party that's also called Crane and Company. Now, we all know that Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. He could leave right now, and that would be cemented in concrete, at least until somebody else takes that mantle, which, who knows, it may never happen. But the main question now, when it comes to Alabama and their head coach, is when is he going to hang it up? Now, in today's world, with the amount of personnel and staff you can coach a lot longer than I think you could in the past. But when you look at Nick Saban's career, these guys have to have egos to be able to accomplish what he's accomplished. And they want to go out on top. You look at Peyton Manning. I can go down the list of some of the greatest of all time, not just in sports, but in their careers in different companies and corporations that wanted to go out on the best note possible to put that cherry on top of the ice cream. Now, with Nick Saban heading into the college football playoff with a chance to win his 8th national championship, going out on top is a legit option. And when you look at the way the balls are bouncing, it's lining up for him to be able to go off into the sunset with college football changing every second. Look at the freedom of the transfer portal. You look at NIL. You look at conference realignment. You look at playoff expansion. And not to say that Nick Saban wouldn't have success. He's been the most malleable at the top. I think that's why he's continued to not only survive, but thrive. But college football is changing. We've seen the changing of the guard in some of the best college basketball coaches because the game has changed. But none of them could go out the way that Nick Saban could go out if he wins his 8th natty. It's either that or AI catches up enough or cloning catches up enough where they can fuse his brain with a robot and the Sabatron 3000 can roam the sidelines until the meteor takes out the earth. But until then, we can speculate. And oh yeah, he just bought an island. I'm bringing my co-host David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, probably got a couple islands of his own. And my brother, met a couple DBs feel lost on an island, Western Colorado State wide receiver Blaine Crane. David, Nick Saban, you feel like he could coach for another 100 years,
Probably
right?
will.
You just get him enough coffee and enough little Debbies. I mean, money's not going to be an issue. But the way the game has changed, and I gave those examples, I think you look at college basketball, Jim Boeheim, Coach K, Roy Williams. I can go down the list. As the game has changed, some of the top dogs have decided to get out of it. We've seen it a little bit in the football realm, but not nearly as much as we've seen in college basketball. If Nick Saban wins his 8th national championship this year, with all the changes, with going out on top, with having a wife that at some point is going to want him to be at home for longer than what he is, because she really runs the show, let's be honest. It's her decision. Do you think this is Nick Saban's last year?
I find this conversation fascinating. I certainly don't want to pretend to know what Nick Saban will or won't do. I don't even know if he knows at this point. I know what he said earlier this year, which is it's kind of laughable to think that I would retire. This was after the Texas loss, right? He said these conversations started happening like 5 years ago, and I'm still here. I also know he signed a contract extension for 8 years last season, so that gets him to 2030. Now, take that for what it's worth. You're right, though. College football is moving at such an unprecedented pace that you have to feel like, I mean, this being his greatest coaching job this year, right? With Jalen Monroe and this team to make the college football playoff, which what I think is his least elite team that he's had, you'd have to say if he were able to get to his 8th national championship, that there is something about him wanting to go out on top. And another thing I've been thinking about is this guy is very, very good friends with Bill Belichick. He's seen Bill Belichick win 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. And just in the last couple of years, I mean, this is Bill Belichick's worst season with the Patriots. People are talking about it's a no-brainer that he won't be the coach in New England next year, which just seems implausible to think after you won 6 Super Bowls. I think Nick Saban is looking at that and saying, man, if I were able to get an 8th one, maybe it would feel good to go out on top.
For sure, without a doubt. And again, Blaine, we talk about egos. Players have egos. To be able to accomplish great things, you need to have somewhat of an ego. I'm not saying you have to be an egomaniac or a narcissist, but it takes some of that. And we've seen guys try and go out on top and it not work. You bring up Bill Belichick, you can go down the list. Most guys, when they get done, right, they're either past their prime, that they're kind of, put on the raft and pushed down the river. We need to make a change. You've been here so long. We love you. Thank you. You go on what I call the Lee Corso tour, where every year you tell everybody goodbye, yet you're around the next year. But David brings up a great point. This could be Nick Saban's best coaching job. What a better way to go out when you've been making appearances on ESPN every week. ESPN is just waiting they'll pay him more than probably Alabama would to go on the show every single week to continue to do that, or maybe even do more. If you're Nick Saban, right, and you've won all these natties, and you feel like you kind of, I don't want to say got lucky a couple times here, but you caught some breaks, and you win it this year, are you going to the island or what?
No, I'm not. I don't think Nick Saban is either. I feel like we talk about this every time we get close to playoff talk, our playoffs come around. We always talk about, is this Nick Saban's last year? It'd be different if Nick Saban was struggling with the transfer portal, couldn't deal with NIL. Mm-hmm. But again, we sit up here and have this conversation on Nick Saban being a step ahead. Some people think that this was his worst team, yet they're sitting in the playoffs with 1 loss. I think Nick Saban is mentally, cognitively, is as good as he ever is. That's when I think Nick Saban will step away. Mentally, when it starts getting too much for him to be a head coach, right? And I think he's having fun. Hell, I've seen Nick scream less this year than I've seen in the last 10 years.
That's true.
And it looks like he's actually having a fun time coaching. So, no, I don't think Nick Saban, I don't know when, I would put 5 more years for him in the book. In the book, because
what, 80?
Go out on top.
80?
Hell,
7, right?
This will be your 8th natty. You could have been gone out on top a while ago. What's the next one closest to you? 3, I believe. Like, you could have been gone.
Well, no. You haven't made the playoff the past couple years. When I'm talking about going out on top, I'm not talking about going out as the greatest. He's going to be the greatest head coach of all time. I think you could make an argument in the NFL and college. I'm talking about the last year you're there. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl.
You mean if he had retired in 2020?
If he had retired in 2020 after the COVID year. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. You won the natty. That's great. Going out on top to me is you won the whole thing. If Nick Saban wins the whole thing this year with all the craziness, with the way that college football is going, and there's another factor, and I'm telling you, he's got a wife. And as somebody that's been married since May, I don't have nearly the experience Nick Saban has. But I guarantee you if Miss Terry says, hey, honey, you're 75, you're 76, you're the greatest of all time. We just spent $17 million on this island. Let's just go.
She may not want him in the house that much.
Look, I'm not saying like I know.
I don't think Nick Saban's ready to be bored yet.
I think he was going crazy when he had COVID those couple days and couldn't leave.
Well, you worry about that because we see this all the time. Like not even only in sports, but guys have been doing this for so long, then they stop doing it, and they just disintegrate.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at like Joe Paterno. Like there's some.
He would stay busy, like you said, with ESPN.
For sure, he would. But again, it's this as well as anybody. It's a lot different when you're in it than when you're talking about it. That feeling is a lot different.
You know what winning that 8th one does, though? Makes you want to win that.
Makes you want to win that 9th one.
Well, maybe you want to win that 9th.
Maybe it's not even the 9th. Maybe it's can I get to 10?
Is that what? Oh.
Can I get to, how many did John Wooden win at UCLA?
Like 10.
It was somewhere around there. Could he be trying to chase John?
There is something to Blaine's point, though. If he made the college football playoff this season with essentially, like we said, at least the least elite roster that we've seen make a playoff run, right?
Yeah.
And you have this quarterback in Jalen Monroe who's still younger, who's been figuring it out the last couple weeks. I mean, he got benched earlier in the season. If you beat Michigan and then either won a rematch against Texas or beat an undefeated Washington team and won the national championship, is there part of him that says, I want it this year with this squad? Jalen Monroe's already said he's coming back.
I mean,
let's go back to back.
Why not? Like you look at Nick Saban right now. What is he not doing at an elite level?
That's about it.
Acting and like commercials?
Yeah, that's about
Maybe that's it.
And that's not even that bad.
No, it's really not bad at all.
I know you're an actor, so you're allowed to.
No, well, you're an actor.
There's no more of this non-actor talk.
I'm on IMDb. Yeah, Google it. But David, before we get to the Booster Club, we want to know what you guys think. We're going to open up the phone lines at 7:15 a.m. Central. That's 8:15 a.m. Eastern. He's not the only coach that I'm interested to see what happens after this year.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Harbaugh in Michigan wins it.
That's why this matchup's so fascinating.
And he gets that natty. Mm-hmm. Does he go to the NFL? Does he make, because I'm telling you, David, there's something too, and you know this, you have brothers, like winning the national championship at Michigan's great. Doing all this stuff, going to the playoff, it's great. But every Thanksgiving, the Harbaughs get together. Mm-hmm. Hell, Tom Crean shows up, right? And he has to look at his brother John, who beat him in the Super Bowl, okay? Regardless of what you do at Michigan, you're never winning Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas, right? It's like his dad, Jack's like, man, John, I'm so proud of you. And Jim, man, you tried really.
Oh, don't do Jim.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you. It's got that type of vibe to it. And I feel like the Harbaugh's father would try and create that competitive environment.
Oh, you think so?
I think he's like Spike's dad from Little Giants, just rubbing his
after
calves
Jim
with milk
named him
at night.
interim head coach this year when he was suspended.
Look, you're all right.
It means something.
It means something. It doesn't mean everything, though. It doesn't mean that Super Bowl.
That is
so does Jim with all the NCAA stuff. If they win it this year at Michigan, you put it together. You beat Ohio State 3 years in a row. You flip the script. Michigan's back in the national title glow. Does he go to the NFL and say, all right, I've got one Infinity Stone. Now I got to go fight Thanos.
If I knew, brother, I promise you I would.
No, David, I need an answer from you. I need an answer.
Figuring out what Jim Harbaugh is going to do is even more difficult than what Nick Saban would do. I mean, first of all, if Jim Harbaugh won the national championship, like you're talking about doing something that even his head coach back in the day, Bo Schembechler, didn't do, right? You brought a program all the way back, rescued this Michigan program. And I find it interesting just because even before Jim Harbaugh had figured out a way to beat Ohio when Urban Meyer was still there and he was losing all these games, there was still conversations about Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL. One of the few coaches we've seen who's had extreme success at both levels of football, right? Like not just everybody can do that. Pete Carroll's been able to do it, some others. But are we talking about a situation here where, and you talk about the NCAA stuff, like all of that's going to factor into this. People are talking about he could be suspended all the next year. I don't understand anything that's going on with college football wanting to run Jim Harbaugh out of it and run him back to the NFL. It's crazy to me. But are we talking about a situation where it's more difficult for Jim Harbaugh to win a national championship at Michigan in this current landscape than it would be for him to even win a Super Bowl?
Man, I feel like
I just got to feel like it's tougher to win a Super Bowl.
I just feel like it's the margin for errors are the margin between teams is so much tighter in the NFL. Like Michigan can go out against Indiana and play bad and get away with it. Like they can go out and I'm not saying just the Big Ten. There's teams in the SEC you can go play bad against it and have a chance. I just feel like to be able to consistently win in the NFL, it's just a harder job. I know there's no recruiting, right? I know there's no academics. But the difference between the worst team and the best team is still so much tighter than even the worst team in Michigan's conference versus them. So I would say it evens the odds a lot more with what the NCAA is doing, but I still think it's harder to win the NFL.
Well, yeah, I think it comes down to what the NCAA does. And if they don't do anything technically, if you're Jim, why would you want to leave? Mm-hmm. Like, why would you want to go start over? And I get what you're saying, the whole brotherly thing. I trust me, I understand that. But you're winning. Like your son is coaching at Ohio State right now. That's what Ryan Day is. He is your child, and you are running through the one team that you're afraid of. I don't care what anybody tells me. Michigan is not afraid of Penn State. They're not. We see the same game every year. You're better than everybody in your conference. The last 2 to 3 years, you're getting the playoffs every year. You might have run into a Georgia team that I don't think anybody was beating. People want to rag on Michigan for that loss a couple of years ago. No one's beating that Georgia team. TCU, we can have an honest conversation, but you're running your conference. It's about to go to a 12 team, so you're going to be in the playoffs every single year. Why go start over?
And you're the golden son.
Why go start over in the NFL?
But again, to Jake's point, I don't know what Jim Harbaugh inside. Well, I don't know, does he desperately still want to go be an NFL head coach? And,
I don't know,
Michigan's that one job where it's like, that's most people's last job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, most people don't want to leave there. And make no mistake, I'm not talking about on my hypothetical for just any coach, is it easier to win a Super Bowl than a national championship, right? Like, that's not the conversation. I'm talking about Jim Harbaugh specifically. You're at Michigan, you're in the Big Ten in an era where the SEC has had a stranglehold on the college football playoff. And Jim Harbaugh has proven in December and in January with this month layover, it hasn't worked out. Like, he has to change something on the college football level. But in the NFL, he brought that San Francisco 49ers franchise back from the depths. I mean, in 2003, 4, 5.
He's going to have to do that again with the roster. He's going to have to do the same thing.
Wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes.
Sure.
He's going to have to do the same thing.
Well, if you win it this year, I mean, I'm not saying you can't win it the next year or two within 3 years, but, I mean, look at the teams that are going to the Big Ten.
You would have delivered on everything you were.
Everything, like, you might as well strike while the iron's hot, get out. Like, to me, if it has to be the right situation in the NFL, but I'm just, there's something about that Thanksgiving dinner, man, I keep thinking about when they sit down across from each other.
And if the NCAA is coming after him, I'm out.
Like, that's the
kicker for me.
The kicker, that's the best way to put it. But whether it's Jim Harbaugh, whether it's Nick Saban, when it comes to football, they're putting on a masterclass. And you guys know our sponsors, and one of them happens to be Masterclass. What is Masterclass? David, you asked me?
What is Masterclass?
It's an online platform that offers classes taught by well-known experts and celebrities in various fields. They cover a wide range of topics, including cooking, music, writing, filmmaking, business, photography, and much more. They have a new class with Kevin Hart. Teaches you how to use humor as a tool for success, which is something I think we could all benefit from. And again, I've watched the cooking one. My wife's watched it. She absolutely loves them. Any type of taste that you have, whether, I brought up the music stuff, I brought up the cooking, the filmmaking, business, photography, they have it. These instructors, they're industry leaders like Kevin Hart that I mentioned. So this holiday season, give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/Crane. That's masterclass.com/CRAIN. And that's 2 memberships for the price of 1 at masterclass.com/Crane. Head on over there. It's a fantastic holiday gift as well. Offer terms apply. That's masterclass.com/Crane. And also this Christmas season, okay, we know what happens when it comes around. Little Yuletide. Great discounts on the Daily Wire. And right now, annual subs are 30% off. That's one whole year of unlimited access to ad-free, uncensored, exclusive content from all your favorite Daily Wire hosts, like us, for 30% off. So join now and get access to groundbreaking entertainment, like our hilarious new comedy movie, Lady Ballers.
Hilarious.
Which is the most triggering comedy of the year. And I must say, the acting was impeccable. And the Daily Wire Plus subscription includes our new kids streaming app, Bent Key, which is also where you'll be able to watch Snow White and the Evil Queen in 2024. Trust me, you don't want to miss what we have coming. All right, next year, including Mr. Burcham and the Pink Dragon Cycle, and much, much more. So this Christmas, get yourself a Daily Wire annual membership for 30% off. Let's get to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to Moses Denton. Hey, y'all make sure to hit that like and subscribe button.
Moses is in there?
Moses is in here, and he split this C. All right, let's go. I think either way, he's talking about Nick Saban here. I think either way, he'll be seriously considering retirement. He might make the announcement that he will retire or say this coming up year will be his last.
The Swan Song? Right? It's like
they push Nick down the river?
I don't think they push Nick down the river. I think Nick will get on the raft himself because at some point Terry Saban is going to tell him to stop. I just know it. I can just feel it down in my plums.
All right, let's go to RMFT Tide. What's up, brother? It says most of this team is coming back next year, and he is still recruiting at an elite level. He still has more time in him.
I want to say this. I am not saying Nick Saban's going to forget how to coach or like he needs to retire because it's not working out anymore.
That's
not the argument.
I don't think we use old age as an excuse either because like you look at Nick.
He takes HGH.
Yeah, and whatever he takes. I'm saying you look at Nick. I mean,
smart.
And he's clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, listen. I look at Nick Saban a lot different than some older people in power right now when I'm middling around, falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
But when Nick Saban, I believe he said that he wanted to make sure when he left the program in a spot where the next person could come in with a chance to win. What a better spot to leave a program in for the next guy, whoever that may be, and we can argue that one to the cows come home. But if he wins the Natty this year with what he has coming back, you are leaving the program as we move into a even newer era of college football in the best possible place you could ever leave it. You will never be able to leave it better than that.
What was his contract?
It was 8 years, so $93.6 million in 2022, which gets him to 2030. And I know that he said that. I'm not saying he's being disingenuous, but making sure the next guy is set up for success, I don't think that's priority one.
No, I don't think it's priority one, but I think it's a big deal to him.
Sure.
I think it's a big deal to him because if you look at the way Nick Saban inherited the Alabama program, with how down they were and where he built it to this point. I know. Every time I see Rich Rod, I want to throw up. Even though Jacksonville State got a nice win, we're going to go.
They did.
But I know he's your boy too, David. But when it comes down to Nick Saban and we look at what he's accomplished, I always said, whoever the next guy, I don't want to be the guy that follows Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. I want to be the guy that follows the guy that followed Nick Saban. But with some of the coaches out there in Alabama, such a attractive job. I mean, you hand it off after winning 8 national championships, possibly, after what you inherited, after the disaster we saw with basically everybody who coached named Mike, right? Mike DeBose, Mike Shula. I can go down the list. I think there's something to that, too.
Let's go to Chris Walton. What's up, Chris? He says the transfer portal has put some parity in college football that we've never seen. Which teams are going to strive in the 12-team playoff? The teams that recruit and retain or the teams that spend the most money? That guap, boys. That koala.
It's a mixture of that koala.
That squala.
It's a mixture of those two, right? That's what makes coaching so much harder today than it's been. Not only do you have to recruit at a high level out of high school and develop players, not only do you have to get guys to replace holes in the boat in the transfer portal, you've got to re-recruit your own team. So, like to me, it's a mixture of all that. If you've got the most money, right, it's like A&M. It's going to hit eventually, right? You got all the resources. You're going to hit green in roulette eventually, right? If you got to have the money, you got to have the resources to be able to get in the door. Right? You got to have a buy-in on NIL to be able to just get your foot in the door. Then you got to be good enough to actually go get the players, to recruit them, to still win the living room. Then you got to be good enough, especially if they don't play early, to keep them there and tell them to be patient. So it's all of those. If I'm going to pick teams that helps the most, it's not just the expanded playoff. It's getting rid of divisions in conferences as well. Look at Penn State. Nobody is happier about it going to a 12-team playoff and getting out of the divisions than Penn State is, to get out of the Big Ten East. And when we talk about parity, I will say, I don't think we can sit here and say that the transfer portal has brought more parity to college football yet. We don't have enough sample size. We've got really 1 year? 1 year of parity out of the last, with the transfer portal, 3? So I'll continue to say what I've said. And I hope this is the new normal, especially going to a 12-team playoff. I want parity. But is this year the anomaly? And all the years before this, is that how it's going to be most years? Think about all the turnover we had at quarterback this year. Like, you're not going to get that at all the top places every season. Just look to next year. Mm-hmm. And with the transfer portal, guys, now you can play 12 years of college football. Hell, if I'm Dylan Gabriel, guy that's probably not going to be a big-time NFL player, I'm going to try and play college football for 10 years. So I'm going to make most of my money. So I don't know if we can say it yet, but if we're going to sit here and look to the future, I think it's obviously the teams with the most money that are the biggest brands, that are in the biggest conferences, that have the best resources. That's who's going to. And you look at a team like Tennessee, you look at a team like Texas A&M, like eventually it's going to hit.
Here's an interesting thought. And I never thought about it until he asked that question, but I've always been pro salary cap at the professional level, right? Like it increases parity and especially protects the smaller markets when New York and LA and Chicago can't just spend all the money in the world and get, the Shohei Ohtanis every time they come around every cycle. But with college football, these, which is more of a local sport and is a smaller market sport, if those programs like a Texas A&M or like, Alabama and Tuscaloosa or Auburn and Auburn, Georgia and Athens, if those teams have the resources and the alumni to spend a bunch of money that helps them be competitive and have the best teams, it's sort of like the inverse, right? Like it hurts some of the bigger markets in, UCLA or USC that already have other professional sports. Yep. They already have a lot going on. Whereas, hey, Tuscaloosa is saying, let's spend all our money to be the best college football team we can be, the best college football program we can be. It's just a little bit of an inverse there. And I wonder how this will be affected moving forward if there is some sort of hard salary cap with NIL or collectives or anything?
It's going to be tough.
Well, do you get to a point, and we've talked about the Power Five and the Group of Five separating, right? We've talked about a Group of Five having their own national championship and things like that. Do we get to a point where some of these programs have so much NIL money that you kind of break away to a new league if you hit a certain amount of NIL? Like if you spend over $3 million in NIL, I'm just using a number for an example, then you have to be in this bracket, right? Is it almost like not a tax system, not a relegation system, but if you have this amount of money, you are operating in a different sphere than these other teams are.
Doesn't that seem like the best way to do it?
Like it does, but like wouldn't that just break the teams up so much that we wouldn't really even have, it would just be like you win your conference, you're in here with 15 other teams.
They do it in high school, right? High school is based off the student body population. So we've seen, and in fighting and wrestling, they do it by weight class. Like we create these divisions for all different sorts of reasons. One thought I had this past weekend on that final playoff spot when we moved to a 12 team is, why not let the fans have a vote for the final spot? If we're going to have 12 spots, we're just going to blow past an 18 playoff.
Michigan will get in every year.
No, you say that, and I was thinking there definitely is something to the most popular teams that have the biggest fan base, of course, would get a lot of votes. But there's a lot of college football fans around this country, and if this Florida State-Alabama situation has shown me anything, it's that college football fans want to come out in full force and have a say for what they think is not just, but also what they see as being the most entertaining or, whatever sort of matchup. It seems as good a way as any, rather than a committee behind closed doors or a writers association declaring a national.
I think we used to get multiple teams to come together and vote against one team, so they definitely don't get it.
No, it's and I want to move on and get this rapid fire, but I just wish that the people that voted on the college football playoff or who makes it were actually football people. Like I'm just, and not saying that some of these ADs, aren't football guys. Some of them are football guys, and the ones that understand it need to stay. I'm fine with that. But across the board, just having to be an athletic director or, basically a lawyer, why can't we put football people like in there to vote that actually watch the games, that understand the games, that aren't just looking at it from one perspective? Like, I just feel like that, even going to the 12-team playoff, you wouldn't have a bunch of 400-pound people sitting here voting on who's in the best shape. Why do we have a bunch of, I'm not going to have a bunch of bakers and artists and craftsmen, try and draw up an offense for me or tell me why Florida State's better on defense than this team. Why don't we put football people in that spot and have them vote on it?
Well, current AD shouldn't be there in the first place.
I agree with that.
Conflict of interest anyway.
But what football people do we put there? Like where?
I would say
other than us three sitting.
I would say us three. I would say Josh Pate. I would say Herb Street, which, like him or not, I respect Kirk's opinion. David Pollock, guys that know football, that watch football, that you watch to talk about football, because this is what we do, right? We do sports in general. We're going to cover everything, basketball, baseball, and all that. But we know football is the bag. That's what we do. We can watch it and tell you what's going on. If you watch any of our live streams, like I'm so sick of having these. Why is Boo Corrigan making decisions about football? Why? He sounds like he should be playing on the Live Tour. Like, stop letting these people make these decisions. They don't know. And they can be swayed by money. That's what it is. But look at the last name Corrigan. I'm not going to go deep into it, but let's just say I don't think that's the only Corrigan that cares about ESPN. And that's what I'll leave it at. But let's get to college football.
All right. Kyle McCord is going to Syracuse.
It's a good fit.
Is it?
It's a good fit, dude.
That's a huge pickup for Syracuse.
It's a huge pickup for Syracuse, but we had talked about him possibly going to Nebraska or Syracuse. And I want to say this. Y'all know we love Nebraska here. We love our Nebraska fans. But if we're talking about championship relevance, does this say more about Kyle McCord than anything? This is making me think maybe Ryan Day and them were right. Maybe they were. We look at Kyle McCord's numbers, fantastic numbers. You went 11-1, 3,200 passing yards. You're green, you're inexperienced, you're going through big games, you're going to make some mistakes. But man, I would think at some of these other top places, if Kyle McCord was legitimately that guy, was that dude, I think he ends up and sorry, Q-Smo Jimbo, No, but I think we can agree from a championship relevant standpoint, Nebraska and Syracuse are not operating at the same level that Ohio State is.
I was
that
surprised.
Alabama is. That
I was
Georgia
surprised
is.
to see.
Does this say more about Kyle McCord, or does it say more about Fran Brown taking over at Syracuse?
I was surprised to see this, and then I did a little bit more reading. It does sound like he has roots to the area and has known Fran Brown and the offensive coordinator there for quite a while. So it's not completely out of left field when you really go and do your due diligence. But even with that information, I was surprised to see him pick Syracuse.
You left Ohio State, the starting. Where else would you want to start at as a quarterback?
Did you leave, or were you pushed out? Were you kind of pushed out?
With the talent. I don't think they would have pushed him out. I think they would have stayed and let him
I don't know
compete.
if you just leave that.
They wouldn't have stayed to just let him compete. If he wins the job, he wins the job.
No, that's what I think they said. And he said, no, while I was the starter, I went 11-1, threw for 3,200 yards, which I feel like you should always compete. I can understand both sides.
The idea that you're not competing every single, like if someone better comes in, like they're going to play. I don't
For
care
sure.
how good you
Kyle McCord will go have an above-average career at Syracuse. That's what I think he'll do. Above average.
It's great for Syracuse.
Yeah, it's great. Syracuse didn't lose in this situation, right? They didn't lose. You upgraded, obviously, but I don't know. Kyle McCord's going to look a lot different at Syracuse with those receivers running around than the absolute freaks that Ohio State has running around.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Kyle McCord will be an okay college quarterback.
Will Rogers picks Washington, second all-time passing leader in SEC history. Going to follow Michael Penix Jr.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it really does make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the system that Will Rogers was in at Mississippi State for most of his career. There are a lot of similarities into how they operate, you call it air raid, whatever, to Washington. You're going to throw it a lot more than you're going to run it. Will Rogers is used to that. Will Rogers he's seen every coverage there is. He's seen every blitz there is. He's seen every pre-snap alignment there is. And what I find fascinating is, are we now in an era where the top teams are just going to go get experienced quarterbacks other than playing young guys? Like, is that where we're at? Like, every year it's a revolving door at quarterback when you run a system that can behoove a certain type of quarterback. Not that, look, Michael Penix's arm strength is way different than Will Rogers. Now, Will Rogers was hurt his last game, right? You could tell that. He went out there and tried to get it out. But I do think this is a really good fit. Now the question becomes, at receiver, you're going to lose, I believe, Dunze, McMillan, and Polk. I think you're losing all three of those guys. I believe that's right. That's a big loss. But are we now in an era where not just Washington, where these top teams are going to say, you know what? Instead of playing that sophomore quarterback, why don't we just go get a top guy from across the country, or a guy that's played a bunch of games, and just every year because Will Rogers he should have 1 year left to play.
That's
right?
exactly what you're saying.
That's what you would
the top
think.
three guys in the Heisman Trophy.
I mean, it fits.
Were transfers. A lot of these the quarterback transfers we've been talking about don't make any sense to me. It's hard for my
Dylan Gabriel to Oregon didn't.
This
make
one
a lot of
does
sense
though.
to me.
This one makes sense, right? Like, you played for Mike Leach for several years. The very unfortunate situation that happened with Mike Leach, a defensive guy takes over. It's not a great fit. Had some injuries. Now you're going to Washington for a system-based reason, and it's going to be your last year of eligibility. This makes a lot of sense to me. This is like that old school transfer we used to see when Russell Wilson would play 4 years at NC State, go and finish his fifth year out somewhere else. So I don't know. I wish him the best.
I've seen to see a healthy Will Rogers again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I didn't know who I was watching at quarterback. This year. I mean, when Mike Leach died, I don't know. I mean, obviously the system changed everything. Whether Will's hurt or not, he did not look the same. And if you think you're going to go up to Washington, Michael Penix has an absolute hose attached to his shoulder. Michael Penix can throw the out from the other side of the field. I haven't seen that in Will Rogers yet.
Well, I do want to say Mississippi State's offensive line was god-awful this past year. They couldn't run the ball. Woody Marks a good back. Speaking about guys that are in the portal, we interviewed him at SC Media Days. I watched Miss. They couldn't even pick up a twist. Go back and watch that offensive line against LSU. I mean, it's borderline criminally bad. I think that's one of the main reasons Zach Arnett got let go is because they were that bad up front. And it was just poorly coached. I mean, sometimes you just get beat physically. They were getting beat mentally and then getting beat physically. You can't. It's like, man, he's short, but damn it, he's slow. Just can't happen.
All right, another college quarterback that's entered the transfer portal, and this one did shock me, is USC's Malachi Nelson. So he was the number one recruit in the 2023 class, was committed to Oklahoma, decommitted when Lincoln Riley left to go to USC, recommitted. He sat behind Caleb Williams. Now he's entered the transfer portal.
All right, who's going to USC? This is what it smells like to me. But who's left? Like, are you leaving because somebody's transferring into USC? Either that or there's problems. Now I got to look at the roster and see who else they have. Off the top of my head, I thought he was going to be the heir apparent to take over for Caleb Williams. But to me, it's either there's problems out at USC, which would not shock me coming off a 7-5 season, especially with the way guys are front runners now. Or two, Lincoln Riley's bringing in somebody that's going to play, and this kid realizes he isn't. I don't know which one of those it is.
There's no way it's the third option, right? There's no way Caleb Williams is coming back.
No.
No way, right?
No.
No way.
No. There's not enough money in Fansville to bring Caleb Williams back.
He's getting equity in an NFL team, Blake.
I don't know. They might have given him a couple of % of something.
Ugh.
You never know.
It's
he owns
awful.
half the Bears already.
Exactly right.
All right. Penn State's going to hire Tom Allen as their DC, former Indiana coach.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a great hire. Manny Diaz leaves to take a head coaching job. Excited for Manny to see him get back on the horse, see how he does. But Tom Allen, heck of a defensive coach. Like, it didn't work out at Indiana. You know, speaking of Michael Penix, he went down, and then they kind of went down and fell off a cliff. But if you're Penn State, again, though, I'm not worried about the defense. It's never the problem. Never the problem at Penn State, right? And you do it multiple ways. It used to just be y'all had white guys at linebacker with like 4 teeth that were just headbutting people every year. Like now, I mean, Penn State, overall, I mean, you look at year in and year out, they're one of the most dominant defensive teams in the country. I'm not worried about the defense. I'm not worried about Tom Allen. We'll see with the new hire at OC how it goes, right? See if Drew Aller can really do this thing, if they'll unleash him a little bit and let him eat down the field. So I'm not worried about Penn State on the defensive side. It was a great hire, but that's what you expect at a place like Penn State.
Last one for Rapid Fire, more opt-outs for Florida State, unfortunately. Running back Trey Benson is going to skip the Orange Bowl and get ready for the NFL draft.
Not shocked. Did you see, and this is alleged, because I saw this, where Trey Benson and Jared Verse got in that fight in front of that club on the street? Dude, if that was them, I understand being upset you're not in the playoff, but kind of went off the rails. And again, I want to say alleged. But again, if I'm Florida State, I'm not playing this game. Guys, congrats. The minute that A went up on that 4th slot for Alabama, we're national champions. We did it, you guys. 13-0. Power 5 conference. Beat 2 SEC teams. In a conference that had a winning record against the SEC. Get the rings. We'd already had the parade. You know what? We'd have had the parade while the game was being played.
Wow, schedule it for the same.
We would have scheduled it at the exact same, just to make sure nobody's watching it.
Well, executive director of the College Football Playoff, Bill Hancock, did respond to the politicians in Florida.
Oh, he did.
Scott, and he said, yeah, we've seen other instances where undefeated teams get left out of the playoff. This is just the first time from a so-called Power 5. You had an injury to quarterback, and your strength of schedule was worse than the other 4 teams ahead of you. It's like, man, if Florida State's strength of schedule was worse than Michigan's, are y'all watching?
Yeah.
I get Michigan's schedule finished strong, 2 top 10 opponents in the last 3 games, but does everyone just forget that Florida State?
You know what I wish they would say? You know what I wish they would say?
Beat them worse than Alabama?
You know what I wish they would just say? And I'd actually be okay with this. If they just came out and they were like, look, we did it for money.
Just say it.
We did it for money. We did it. It's like the Chappelle thing when he's pretending to be George Bush. And he's like, oil. They ask about oil, and he's like, who said anything about oil? What, somebody cooking? Then he knocks over the water thing and runs away? Just come out and say it. Stop being a coward, dude. Just come out and say it. Bill Hancock, John's scared great-grandson. Goodness gracious, come out and say it, man. Say it with your chest. I'm sick of y'all ducking the smoke. All y'all, look, say what you want about Herb Street, but Herb Street will tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. I respect Kirk for saying that. He'll come out and just tell us the truth. Stop lying. And stop trying to make it sound like it's something it's not. Y'all didn't. No, Florida State, they low-key suck. Look at that schedule. Look at Michigan's schedule. Hell, look at Washington's schedule. Not they were just playing the greatest schedule of all time either. But speaking about the greatest of all time, when it comes to skincare and you've got skin in the game, it's Genucel. And with Christmas, bowl games, the NBA, NHL, there's a lot to be stressed about. College basketball, all right? And stress and lack of sleep, David, they can give you those pesky under-eye bags. What'd you call yourself? You were Jeff Bagswell?
Y'all called me
Jeffy
Jeff, y'all called me Puffy
Bags.
the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, it was
so
bad.
I got Genucel.
It's like somebody just deflated the puffiness under your eyes. It's great. And the good news is that you never have to worry about that when you have Genucel skincare. Skincare for men and women. All right, and from now until Christmas, the most popular package Genucel has a special discount just for our listeners and watchers at Genucel.com/booster. It's GENUCEL.com/booster. They send a ton of stuff down to the office. Everybody absolutely loves it. And included in your most popular package is your free, and I'm going to say this right, hyaluronic acid serum for skin hydration to restoration. Pow!
Well done.
That's exactly right. Skin's looking delicious and silky smooth. So go to Genucel.com/booster. That's GENUCEL.com/booster. Think you know how to spell that, to get this incredible holiday discount. Every order today, instantly upgraded to free express shipping. NASCAR. Let's hurry up and get a snap off. That's Genucel.com/booster. Genucel, you got skin in the game. All right, back to the Booster Club quickly, then I want to get to right and wrong. We'll get to the NFL and then calls.
Let's go to Trey Bonhammer. Let's get to some donations here. You knew the Bama fans were going to come out. I'm not surprised. $5 donation. Guys, Miss Terry is coaching alongside him. She loves it as much, if not more. She knows him best. Do you really think she wants him to be miserable right now?
No.
Well, and listen, we're not pretending to know what goes on inside their household and stuff like that. But I do think at some point, right, you know, and I got to see his grandkids situation. I don't know how many he has. You know, we laugh, oh, the wife's going to make the decision. I really feel like Terry Saban is like half in this. Like, if you know anything about the Alabama program, or you were at LSU when Nick Saban was there or whatever, Miss Terry's got a huge impact on what goes on in that program. And I think she is the only one that Nick Saban will truly listen to and be like, okay. Like, you know, if Blaine calls me up and he's like, hey, man, you know, this is what I think, whatever, I'll agree with him if I agree with him. Reed said something and she's pissed off, I'm probably going to agree with it just for self-preservation most of the time. So, again, it must be a great situation where you're in such control and you've dominated so much that either decision you make is going to be fine.
Let's go to Finley O. He wants to know, I'm not sure Ryan Day is good for the Buckeyes program. Is it time they need to move on?
It's just such a high-class problem. But I get it, though. Like, here's the thing. Growing up in the Iron Bowl rivalry, I get this. You can, on one hand, say, you know what? We can be 0-11. But if we win that one game, it's a successful season. You can't then be like, well, we win 11-1 and we lost that one game. It's still a successful season. I would rather, honestly, Auburn go 8-4 over the next 4 years and beat Alabama every year than to go 10-2 over the next 4 years and lose 3 out of 4 to Bama and make the playoff.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
This is a really interesting situation here.
I would much rather that.
Ryan Day has the highest winning percentage of any Power 5 head coach right now. Period. That means something. And I think he caught less heat last year because they slid into that 4th spot in the college football playoff and almost beat Georgia. I mean, had them on the ropes, right? This year it's a little bit different. Losing 3 straight years to Michigan, I mean, one, that's significant, but this past one, that's to an interim head coach. Well, that wasn't Jim Harbaugh you went and shook hands with.
And David, you were destroying them.
Yeah, well, again, that speaks to me to the greatness of Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was 7-0. Here's where I want to caution people, though. We're moving to a 12-team college football playoff. One where if Ryan Day continues to do what he's done these past 3 years, beat every single team except Michigan, you're still going to get in the playoff. And the Big Ten's moving away from divisions. You could face Michigan 3 times in a year. You could play them at the end of the regular season for the conference championship, which we haven't seen because they've been in the same division, and then possibly play them in the playoff.
That could be really good or make things a lot worse.
You know, on the way they've built their teams to play them on a neutral side or to play them indoors, I think is different. You've seen the way Michigan sort of built that team to beat the Buckeyes in the weather, in the elements, late in November. I don't know. It's just interesting. I would just be careful before I go running him out of town.
But Blaine, would you rather Auburn make the playoff 1 out of 3 years and lose to Alabama every time, or Auburn
every time?
Hold on. Or Auburn to go 8-4 3 straight years, but beat Alabama every time.
Okay, What happens in the playoff? Do we win a natty?
No, I'm saying you don't win a natty, but you make the playoff.
You don't win a natty.
No.
Then no. Yeah, I'd rather go 8-4 beat Alabama every time.
Yeah, I'm just like there's some games.
If you can guarantee me a chance at the natty, then I'd probably take the natty.
Well, it's I'm just to the point now, man, where like there's some games, and this is just how it is in sports, that mean so much that you cannot lose them too many times or you're going to get fired. Mm-hmm. Regardless. He loses to Michigan 5 times in a row, Dave, he's fired. He's fired. Yeah. Tell me he's not fired.
Well, look, we said the same thing on our side with Jim Harbaugh. I mean, we were looking at he lost in.
And y'all went in there and took money from him.
19.
Y'all went in there and said, listen, Bama need that back. Get your title back with title max.
Multiple losses, didn't you?
Those years, the situation was Jim Harbaugh was beating everybody except for the Buckeyes.
Like Ryan Day.
And he had a losing record to Michigan State. So it was the rivalry games that where it's trouble cracking the code.
So no one's worried about Michigan State. Nobody is, ever. Hey, don't never have to worry about them again.
They're going through some things, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hate that. I can tell. All right, one more, then we'll get to right and wrong.
Let's go to Mike McGlynn. What's up, Mike? He says he's feeling really good about Penn State and might pick him to win the Big Ten next year.
Well, it's I need to look at this. Can we pull up Penn State's 2024 schedule real quick?
Yeah, I can get it.
I know we're moving away from divisions right in the SEC, but Auburn still has to play Georgia and Alabama. So does Penn State still have to play Michigan and Ohio State? Doesn't work out that way. But over the long term, hell yeah, if you're Penn State, this is great. Freedom.
This is what I got, all right? You're going to West Virginia. And that might be a little sneaky football game right there. You got Bowling Green at home. Sorry, Scotty Chef. Bye week, you got Kent State at home, Illinois at home, UCLA at home, at USC. Bye week at Wisconsin, the Buckeyes at home, Washington at home, at Purdue, at Minnesota, and you finish with Maryland.
So no Michigan. So no, man, first off, that schedule is not a walk. This adding USC and UCLA to the Big Ten is throwing me off so bad.
Yeah, you're playing.
No, again, I think Penn State might benefit the most from going away from divisions. Not even the 12-team playoff. There's a lot of teams that are going to benefit from that. Obviously, you get a chance to make the playoff. But as far as getting out, is there a harder division to win in football than the Big Ten East? Is there a harder one to win? I don't think there is, even right now. So, look, Penn State, I know they're going to be talented, but you get out of hell. That's where you've been. You've been in hell in the Big Ten East. And you just crawl out, look over the top. Whoa,
70.
USC, UCLA, I'll take that, right? Don't have to finish third anymore. Going 10-2 and finishing third.
They've been a big reason that it's hell, too. I mean, seeing Penn State
without a
schedule,
doubt,
like you're the third best team in that division, but still, they've been a really solid third.
No, Penn State, again, it's like you look at Ole Miss this year. You're like, man, y'all went 10-2, you lost at Bama and at Georgia. I mean, damn.
That's the thing about the SEC West. If it wasn't Ole Miss, it'd be Texas A&M.
For sure.
It'd be Arkansas, or it'd be Auburn. That's what's crazy about that.
Part of it. All right, we're going to get back to the chat. We have the phone lines open up. I want to make sure we get to those. Let's go ahead and get to right and wrong, then a quick NFL hit.
All right, boys. Bowl season is underway. Where were y'all right this weekend?
Well, I was right on Jacksonville State. Excited for Rich Rod. That was a pretty interesting game. Looking at what they did, not only coming up in the FBS, but winning that bowl game, that was a big step for them. You tend to get some craziness, especially nowadays with the opt-outs. And I'm going to get to where I was wrong in a second, but UCLA, I was right about that. Even though I'm really excited about Spencer Danielson and Boise State, what they're doing moving forward, just not having Taylon Green, having that Tiller kid, the freshman at quarterback, not his fault. He really couldn't do anything. Not that UCLA was great. Thought Schlee was good on the ground. Thought Garbers had some good throws in the intermediate. UCLA was just a better team. And I know they had a boy who won the Lombardi, who was sitting out, who's a hell of a player, Latu, who I think needs to be a top 6 pick, probably top 5 pick. But when I look at where I was wrong, man, Georgia Southern, Clay Helton, what the hell are y'all doing?
Lost 6 straight?
Did y'all go out and drink the night before? Ohio beat you with guys who had never a player who had never taken a college football snap scored 5 touchdowns. 5 against you. Davis Brin, that man's so bipolar. I mean, it's a Gucci song. It's ridiculous. Georgia said, I really think Georgia Southern went in there and just thought, no Rourke, who's gone to Indiana. Shout out Kirk Cignetti. They're not missing their starting back. missing a ton of starters. They kicked y'all's ass. Georgia Southern, I was so disappointed by Clay Helton. I put that on him. You didn't have your team ready. You thought you were going to roll your helmet out there and beat them, and you got embarrassed. You get dropped by 3 touchdowns to a team playing with guys who...
If you watch the way they ended the season, though, I don't think they overlooked Ohio. I just think they've just been getting beat. I mean, after the win against Georgia State, which was great, at home, broke attendance records, you lose 45-24 to Texas State. You lose to Marshall 38-33. You lose to Old Dominion 2017. You get blown out by App State, which is a rivalry game, 55-27. Now you lose the bowl game. It just, I mean, down the stretch, that's 5 straight losses.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I had Ohio on my locks, leans, or dogs. Or
You had Miami, Ohio. Pretty sure.
No, I didn't. I didn't pick Miami, Ohio.
I took them both, so I hit one and missed one.
I think we both took Ohio because I remember Justine put the 9 instead of the 0. So Jason Bourne. Where I was right, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They came in and not only won, but convincingly won this game against Cal.
I thought it was going to be more high scoring.
I thought so too, but I thought Texas Tech defense surprised a lot of people, including myself. But I thought the quarterback had to go over 250 passing yards. He looked good in the pocket. And that was a big win, but where I was wrong, and this one hurt, but it was a hell of a game. If I'm going to lose a game in the bowl pick'em, I want it to be like this, and that was the Lafayette and Jacksonville stuff.
That was a hell of a game.
Great game.
Jacksonville State game.
Hell of a game.
It was just fun to watch from the beginning to the end. I mean, surprised, but good for Rich Rod. Good for Rich Rod.
Watching him freak out on the sidelines, I get
It's great.
PTSD every time.
It's great.
Because I was too close to that. I
love watching.
I was the one sending him the signals and feeling the wrath.
If there's a couple guys I want to sweat out a bet with, a big bet, I want Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
I want Bruce around to blame somebody because they care that much. And, put Rich Rod in there, too. You can put Rich Rod in there and yell at some people. I'm fine with that.
Rich Rod, and he's an equal opportunity ass chewer.
Oh, yes, the best.
The quarterback, the linemen, the coaches.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to yell at everybody. I'm down with it.
I'll tell you one where I was wrong. New Mexico State, man, losing 37-10 to Fresno. I was watching that game. Every single drive, I asked myself the same question. How did they beat Auburn so bad? Like, seriously. Like, how did it happen? Because they lost in the conference championship. Now they lose 37-10 to a Fresno State team, which hasn't been up to par with the last couple of seasons. I'm just like, man, how did y'all go into Jordan-Hare and win that bad?
They brought up an interesting point during the game and before we get to the NFL. New Mexico State played 15 games?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it on their ticker.
So if you play at Hawaii, and this, I believe it's what they said, and I had never heard of this before. If you play at Hawaii, to make up for the cost of having to go out there and play, I think they give you another home game.
Really?
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Me neither, but I did see that they
played 15. That's 15 games. And did you see what Jerry Kill said after the game about
the turf?
No. So he said, first off, the people that hosted the bowl people were great.
Mm-hmm.
They were fantastic. But their rival, it's the New Mexico Bowl. They said the AD at New Mexico, they wouldn't let them practice in the indoor because they're rivals. And don't forget, the quarterback at New Mexico State took a leak on the logo of New Mexico when they were practicing over there, I believe.
Wow.
I remember we saw those pictures. But Jerry Kill ripped. I'm sure we'll react to it this week at some point. Ripped the AD in New Mexico. It was like he should face the same discipline that my quarterback had to face. Jerry Kill, you talk about a guy it'd be fun to go have a beer with. I think Jerry Kill would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun to go have a beer with.
All right, let's move to the NFL quickly here. I want to start with the AFC East. Miami Dolphins win this weekend, blow out the Jets. Buffalo Bills just smacked the Cowboys around. This is getting more interesting down the stretch. As bad as the Bills have looked in some games this season, they're 2 games off the lead in the AFC East, and here's who the Dolphins have remaining. They have the Cowboys next week, and they're at the Ravens, and then they host the Bills for the final game of the season.
Man.
Bills finish the season at the Chargers, who packed it in, versus the Patriots at home. Then they go on the road to the Dolphins. Remember, they smacked the Dolphins around at home 48-20 earlier this season. How are you feeling about the Bills possibly even coming back and winning that division?
It would not shock me. The NFL's so drunk this year. Here's the real question you got to ask yourself. Is there an elite team in the NFL this year?
The 49ers, but
I think you can say
the 49ers and Ravens? Would that?
I would say the 49ers.
Ravens.
I wouldn't say the Ravens.
They've been playing so well, though. But the 49ers are more, they look.
Well, the Ravens are more consistent to me. They've been the most consistent team in the NFL. Look at the Niners. You lost 3 straight?
They lost the 3 straight, and they had some injuries during that stretch.
I know they did, but that's part of playing in the NFL. But I'm looking around the league. The Cowboys, can't trust them. I'll continue to say it. Even though Dak during the regular season is pretty damn good. He's in the MVP voting. I would say right now, when I'm looking around the league, do you trust the Dolphins? Do you really trust the Dolphins?
They're fun. Really? They're good for football.
Yeah, and that's
late
great.
Late in January on the road to
I don't
play,
trust them.
Say, like a Patrick Mahomes or somebody.
I'm telling you right now, I'd still. And I know
who do you really trust to do?
That's my
NFL team.
That's my whole
49ers.
point.
Other than the 49ers,
even them, you don't know what Brock Purdy could do in the playoffs. It's.
I mean, right now, obviously the 49ers is the best team in the NFL. I think we can all agree.
I would say
given the
yes.
struggles that Philly's
how much more?
I think the real question is what team is the second? What's the closest to the 49ers?
Well, and the argument is, I mean, it feels like it goes back and forth all the time. I mean, a couple weeks ago, you'd obviously say the Eagles. Duh, it's the Eagles. Now you can't say that. I mean, you have to say the Ravens.
The Ravens are really good. Lamar's doing some things inside the pocket, too, which is it's incredible.
Well, the Ravens seem like, I feel like the Ravens are playing more consistently because they know who they are. Like, you're not getting, they do not go away from what they do. They're not, and I tell you what, Todd Monken, you talk about getting a head coaching job.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I know you have Lamar.
We were talking about like a team that did exactly what they needed to do in adding certain pieces, certain places. That's what the Ravens did. You can go back to the defense. You add Roquan Smith. You add Zay Flowers. You draft. You got to think they're doing this right now without who? They're doing this without Mark Andrews, which is their number one go-to guy. Isaiah Likely stepped up. I mean, Odell Beckham starting to come back into form too, and they're winning games how? In multiple ways. That's what great teams do. But I do think right now, I think the 49ers, a fully healthy 49ers football team.
I would put my money on them.
They're really good. I mean, the Chiefs 9-5 right now, and they finish with Raiders, Bengals, and Chargers.
Yeah, but we can't let the Cowboys slide on that.
No, hell no.
Everything the Cowboys built up, in my opinion, the last 3 or 4 weeks fell apart, getting crumbled in that game. I no longer, like, you didn't only lose this game. You got beaten every facet of
out physical.
Well, and I see what you're saying, but this NFL, they'll go score 75 points next game.
Well, next game they're playing the Dolphins. I think right now you should go ahead and take a future on the Cowboys against the Dolphins because the Dolphins already aren't built for physicality. They're built for finesse. Cowboys just got out physical.
Well, you know what that game looked like to me? That game looked like one team just clinched the postseason, and the other team is fighting for their life to be able to make the postseason. The Cowboys are in. They're in the postseason. I forgot what game it was. Maybe it was the Chiefs winning.
The Ravens also clinched.
The Cowboys clinched. That looked like a team, and I'm not making an excuse for them because you want to be playing your best ball. And the Bills just beat them to sleep. But that looked like a team that had clinched the playoffs, and the Bills looked like a team that have to win out to make the playoffs.
That's a good point. That's a good point. There also is something to the fact that, and this is true for a lot of quarterbacks, okay, but Dak Prescott plays a lot better from ahead than from behind.
For sure.
That team
and at home.
And they're on the road. Yeah. Exactly.
And you're going to the Dolphins, who Tyreek Hill just sat out that game versus the Jets. So Tyreek is going to be fully healthy.
Is he going to be back?
Fully healthy walking into this football game.
I do want to say that, but before we move on, Aaron Rodgers, the Jets, I think they're eliminated from the playoffs. No way you play Aaron Rodgers.
No, why would he play?
No chance.
If you're eliminated, there's no reason to play.
Well, what's going to happen there? I mean, I know Nathaniel Hackett, the OC, is his boy, and he brought him in. Like, you have to move on from the offensive coordinator, right?
See, I don't know though. Like Aaron got hurt. Like if my best player, like at the most important position, gets hurt, maybe
all these quarterbacks who've gotten hurt though. I mean, when you talk about the Vikings when you talk about the Vikings situation, you talk about some of these teams in the league, they still find a way to be competitive.
I get what you're saying, man. I just think you look at what they spent on Zach Wilson. Like I feel like they're in a tough spot. Like because who's taking Zach Wilson right now? Like nobody's going to take him. So
I think you just have a built-in excuse right now for Nathaniel Hackett, and that's Aaron Rodgers getting.
I think it's a built-in excuse to give him another year.
Yeah.
For Salah to say, all right, you get a year with Aaron. All right, if it works, and that's a great part about.
A lot of this may be out of Salah's hands, to be honest. When you start talking about a guy like Aaron Rodgers being the puppet master, I mean, it seems like it's his call and the owner's call. Salah and the GM may not even.
Well, that would make me think Hackett's going to stay around even more.
Yeah,
right, because that's his boy. No, it's something interesting to follow. Very interesting to follow. All right. You ready to get some calls here, David?
Yeah. You want calls?
Let's do it.
All right. We got Scott in Oregon. Scott, you're the first caller of the week.
Scotty,
come in hot.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
What's up, brother?
I don't really have a question. I don't really have a question. Just a couple of comments and statements. The first one is for Blaine, a.k.a. Flamin' Dragon.
Yes.
A few few months ago, I called and debated the Michael Jordan, LeBron James thing with you. And then I went back and listened to it. Thought I came off a little arrogant, a little rude. So my apologies, sir. I have nothing but love and respect for you.
Hey, Scotty, I love you too. Trust me, I have to sit up here in David Cohn and listen to you.
No.
I don't come off as
Scott,
arrogant.
it's
fine, Scott.
It's funny you say that because yesterday Blaine came over to my house and he was like, God, you remember that time that Scott from Oregon called in and
No, I did.
was a super douchebag to me?
No, I did
kidding.
not, Scott.
Yeah, I'm surprised you let me call back, you know.
Oh, dude.
No.
No.
I'm kidding.
I love
I
that.
think you hit it on the head, Blaine. With LeBron James, let's give him his credit for what he does as a basketball player on the court. The guy's really, really great. But off the court, just can't stand him. And I'm a Laker fan.
I can't either. I can't either.
I just don't like the guy, so I have a really hard time cheering for him.
And I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
like in this argument, I think there's logical arguments on each side, but the way LeBron acts off the court does affect a lot of people's opinions of what he's done.
With that, can you imagine if LeBron just did what Michael did and played it close to the vest, did not get political, did not just went out there and played and said what he needed to say? He would be the most popular athlete ever of all time. I think he'd be
I agree, and I would still think he's the second best basketball player.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
not saying those opinions are coming in on you. I'm not
Because I was saying this back when I was a fan of his. I was putting money on him on Cleveland. I was a big
another person you get I felt like Kobe.
Well, not even
such a
Kobe.
good job.
Well, Kobe did a great job. That's right.
Yeah.
I think somebody else who does a really good job, and I know he's screwed up sometimes, with the pills and stuff. But I'm talking about from how he presents himself and is Tiger Woods.
Oh, he's hey.
Tiger Woods. You never knew. Tiger Woods never came out and he was like, I am for giving 12-year-olds puberty blockers.
Remember when the story broke that Tiger
that.
Woods wanted to break up with this girl, so he invited her on vacation, and she went to the airport, and then he stayed
broke up with her?
locked. He still gets on the podium, and he looks like he's the president or something.
Well, is it to me,
you can't help but like the guy.
To me, it's like when Tiger does stuff like that, it's like when you're playing 2K or Road to Glory, and you're like, hey, you're plus 3,000 fans. I feel like when he did that, it was plus.
It's like whenever Tiger did something, I'm like, well, what'd the other person do?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So, Scott, you're a Lakers fan, though?
Yeah, I've been a Lakers fan since early 80s.
Okay.
So,
Hey, should y'all hang that?
Y'all see us win the tournament this year.
Hey, do you think they should hang that in-season tournament banner?
Oh my God! The in-season tournament, isn't that what we call the regular season?
Yeah.
You hang banners when you win championships.
Especially if you're the Lakers. It's like Charles Barkley said yesterday, look, if the Pacers won it,
it's just a $500,000 winning bonus for each player.
Well, I mean, to them, that's chump shit, especially you live in California.
Great call, Scott.
Yeah,
Really
Scott, thanks, buddy.
Dude.
Call back and scream at Blaine next time.
Call back super pissed.
You bet. You guys have a Merry Christmas.
You too, brother.
well.
You too, Scott. Wow, way to start the week,
apologies.
there, man.
Let's go, dude.
Let's follow. Yeah.
Come on, hey, everyone calling in, apologize to me.
Yeah, if you're on Rumble, just
what?
watching us now, get off to a good start with Blaine.
Next one up is Kirk in Canada. Kirk, you know what to do. Get after this man.
No,
please.
Kirk, you should be apologizing too.
Oh, I will not apologize.
Yeah.
Flyers fan, that is for sure.
Oh, 17-10.
God, Jim Jones.
Second right now in the
We fly
Metropolitan. God, get that jersey out of here. It smells terrible.
Yeah, give me that $50 raccoon pelt, wherever y'all do money up there.
Don't talk about Badgers.
Raccoon fell. Oh, it dawned on me. I never told you guys that this is kind of a big deal for me because I have never gambled ever in my life. And the only time I've ever placed a bet was with Crane & Co. because I was so sure that the Toronto Maple Leafs would cover 12.5, no sweat at all. I didn't even see it as gambling.
Yeah, look, that's what I'm saying. Under the radar, Blaine, doing the research.
There's a reason I'm in the chair all the way to the right.
What was that one the other night? The Maple Leafs were down to the Blue Jackets 5-0 or something, came back, but then still lost in OT.
You know it.
See, that's the worst. That's the worst way to lose.
Oh, you
that
got a
and
point
fourth
out
and
of
goal
it.
from the 31.
Yeah.
Well, at 5-0, I didn't think there would be overtime. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
No. But, man, go ahead.
I wanted to encourage you guys, if you get some chance over the holidays, to get a chance to watch best on best hockey. I think best on best hockey is even better than Stanley Cup playoffs. And we've got a tournament coming up. It's called the World Juniors. It's all the best players on planet Earth under the age of 20. And encourage you boys to take in a game or two. Maybe.
Where can you watch it? Is it ESPN?
ESPN might have it. I'm not 100% sure what up here we've got TSN, which is the sports network in Canada, and it's pretty big, obviously, up here. Wanted to give you guys a guess on who the 2-time defending gold medal champions are heading into.
Yeah, let me guess. Guatemala.
America identifies as the champion.
Yeah, Curry, I was thinking of actually some good content would be us three against like a bunch of 12-year-olds in hockey.
I think some good content would be us three hanging out with Connor Bedard's mom.
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
I have no friends.
You haven't heard about that? Kirk, you've heard about that, right?
Connor, is that the
phenom, one of the phenoms in the NHL, one of his teammates hooked up with his mom. They found out.
No way.
No. Wait, I thought Connor Bedard is that kid dating Portnoy's old girl?
I'm not sure.
I think I saw that. Certainly Connor's
Jeff Portnoy or Dave Portnoy?
Both.
Yeah, that was a weird situation.
It's unbelievable.
Look, you can't be.
All right, we'll check it out.
Destroys team chemistry.
You want to destroy Team Chem? God, just ask. Look, what is Zach? Where's Zach Wilson at?
Look, I blame his mom.
Yeah,
you can't come out through the locker room like that.
Well, every
can't homie hop in the locker room.
Because I'm pretty sure that the Chicago Blackhawks are not going to let Connor Bedard play in this tournament. So the rest of the world has a chance this year at least. So that's good.
Yeah, he's a witch for sure.
Kirk, you don't have a chance against the Flyers, Kirky.
Yeah,
appreciate it, Kirk.
Fly high.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Hey, quick shout out! My son got engaged this weekend. I'm gaining.
Congrats!
I'm really excited about it.
Congratulations,
Little Kirk.
Son.
You complete me.
Congrats,
you,
dude.
Man, tell him congrats for us.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Josh in North Carolina. Josh, how you doing?
Hey guys, what's up?
What's
up, Josh?
All right, so this is the first time I'm going to go out on a limb, and you can clip this whole segment. It's probably going to take me like 2 minutes to read everything I got for my prediction for college football and NFL. And I placed the bets on college football because I'm this confident in the college football ones.
Okay.
So I got, I hate this for Michigan because I don't like the matchup. I got Alabama over Michigan.
Okay.
I think that's crazy.
Texas over Washington.
Wrong.
And in the national championship, I got Alabama versus Texas. I got Alabama beating Texas 34-24.
That's probably what's going to happen, Josh. Honestly.
All right. And now it's my NFL predictions, which this is going to be a little nutty. Just hold on to your seats.
Okay.
I think the Bills are going to make the playoffs. I think they went out, and they're going to be the number 2 seed. And I think the Ravens are going to be the 1 seed. I think the Chiefs will be the 3rd seed, and I think the Colts will be the 4th seed.
Okay.
Now, for the NFC, I think the Eagles are going to win that division against the Cowboys. And I think the Niners are going to win their division. So the Niners would be the 1 seed. And then I think that would make the Eagles the 2 seed, I believe. And then the NFC South is going to be the 4 seed. And then the 3rd seed would be
Cowboys, right?
The Lions. No, because Cowboys would be a wild card playoff team.
God,
because if they don't win the division, they'd be probably the 5 seed.
Oh, that's right. You said the
for the playoffs, I got the Ravens. I feel like are going to be the biggest posers this postseason. They're going to win maybe 1 game and be 1 and done. And I got the Chiefs doing it again. I just believe in this Chiefs team.
I don't think that's crazy.
Every year we're like, oh, this isn't the year, and then they do it. So I think the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I think the Niners roll through the NFC. We get Niners Chiefs for the Super Bowl, and I got Niners 35, Chiefs 21 for the Super Bowl.
Josh, I don't think that's crazy at all.
Yeah, this Chiefs team just looked different than recent.
I don't know, man. At some point, Andy Reid's going to go to Publix or Kroger. He's going to get some of those Milano Pepperidge Farm cookies. He's going to sit down with a glass of whole milk and start dunking them in and eating them. And then he's going to figure it out. I'm just telling you, it's going to happen.
So you think the Colts are going to come back and win the AFC South? That's what you have?
Yeah, I don't believe in this Jags team after watching them the past 3-4 weeks.
They're schizophrenic too.
I just don't believe it.
3 teams are 8-6 in that division. The Jags, the Colts, and the Texans are 8.
The NFL is just
what a win! Hey, what a win by the Texans.
Yeah.
No C.J. Stroud.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, you're down the whole game.
What a loss by the
I had Titans money line.
What a loss by the Titans. Is Mike Vrabel in trouble?
Yeah, they're eliminated already.
I think Mike Vrabel. I think Vrabel's on the hot seat.
Don't let a coaching job in Columbus open up.
Oh God!
I think he'd do it.
I don't know how well would he do. You
don't think that's a fit?
No, I think that they want a high.
Well, I just don't. It's such a
Mama
different.
calls.
Going from college.
I think there's a guy
Mama doesn't call
on
everybody.
incline bench press that wants the Columbus job.
Oh, now you're talking.
Well, yeah, he's talking about accountability.
Now
too,
you're making
a
lot of sense, Josh.
Yeah. Huddle up. I'll ruin this whole thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Josh. Good.
All right, Josh. We'll hold you to that.
Michigan's winning the Rose Bowl. All right, let's go to Jimbo in New York. Jimbo,
Gotta throw that in there.
Jimbo, you got a new quarterback, bud.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? It's your favorite Syracuse fan of all time, baby.
Fran Brown, baby.
Wow, boy, there's a little extra pep in your step this morning. I can smell it.
Nice trip to Home Depot.
So, look, we had a huge recruiting weekend. You know, matter of fact, the last couple weekends, we have 2 transfer wide receivers from Georgia. We just got Kyle McCord, and we just got a linebacker/edge from West Virginia. And, you know, first thing is the excitement, obviously, for our program. But at the same time, I'm frustrated, too, because it's just like I've been through the ringer with these guys, man. Like, I've been a diehard fan of these guys since I've been alive. You know, like, even since before Donovan McNabb and everything like that. And it's just like, where has this been? Mm-hmm. Could we not have recruited like this?
Well,
you know what I mean, for the last 20 years?
Jimbo, here's what I'll say. And if we're going to talk about football, obviously we know basketball takes precedent up there. But when I think a lot of this has to do with Fran Brown's connections, too. Like, I feel like Fran Brown, one of the reasons that he got the job, I think, is his ability to not only recruit the Southeast, but in this first class, bring in guys that are difference makers. Because all you need is to get that ball rolling. That's it. Once you get it rolling, you can keep picking up momentum because players start to say, wait a minute, I can go play at Syracuse and have a chance to win something big, actually. I can go play at Syracuse and be able to put myself in a position that scouts take me seriously every year. Not that Syracuse doesn't get guys drafted, but I think getting that ball rolling with Coach Fran can, and I keep thinking of Franchoni when I say that, it's weird. Syracuse is a place where you can win. You just got to show it to them, right? You got to show it to them, and then you can use all the positives that Syracuse has. And I know there's not as much as there is at Georgia or some of these other places, but I think if he can get it going early, he has a chance to really turn Syracuse into something. Not something where y'all just start out 5-0 and then just Drew Barrymore forget for the rest of the season, but actually do something legitimate. By the way, nice win in basketball yesterday too. That was a nice win over Oregon.
Oh yeah, that was a huge test for us. And like I won't go too much off on a tangent because Syracuse basketball, you know, the 3 losses that we had were teams that were clearly better than us. You know what I mean? Like it ranked in probably the top 10 or 15, and I think that was a good test for us. We're now 8-3. But
did y'all play Auburn?
Syracuse goes?
No, that was last year.
We don't this year. I would love to play Auburn. Oh my God, like you guys are good. Like you had a huge win against SC.
Yeah, we're okay. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe second weekend, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll run to Miami sooner or later.
I just want to add one thing before I go. Like how Louisville had a really good year this year. You know, if everything falls into place for us, we could have that type of year because of the schedule. Our schedule this year really benefits us. And this is not to downgrade us, but we have one of the easy schedules in the country.
Take it.
Good.
This year.
Take it. And
Jay, I do think you're right when you bring, like, when's the last time y'all had a head coach from the South at Syracuse? What, Dino?
Like now with the transfer?
Dino Babers from Hawaii. I think a couple guys from Ohio before that. I mean, you're seeing the Southern connections. This is the pipeline stuff that you get with, like, the tree of getting guys from Georgia, getting guys from Alabama, getting guys from LSU. This is the effect.
I agree.
Appreciate it, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. All right, let's go to Matthew in Arkansas. Matthew, how you doing?
What's up, boys? Heartbroken Hog here. And
What's up,
just
dude?
chaos up on the hill. And I want to ask you guys, with the position that Arkansas football is in, why does SEC scheduling hate Arkansas and Sam Pittman? Because apparently they want him fired by the first bye week.
Was it that bad?
Well, have you seen Florida?
Hold on. You didn't get Alabama.
5 are on the road. Is the problem.
But
3 out of the first 5 are on the road.
But 3 of those are non-conference, so the SEC wouldn't have anything to do with that, right?
Well, look.
Well, the games are in the first 5 weeks at Oklahoma State, at Auburn, and Texas A&M, which is a neutral site game, but it's a neutral site that's been a house of horrors for us.
Well, look, you didn't get Alabama or Georgia on the schedule. I would just take that as a win and move on.
Matthew,
Well, we do get Texas.
How many does Sam have to win next year to keep it? 8?
I mean, that's from Trey Biddy has basically said that we've got to get at least 8. It can't be another 6-6 and win the bowl game like 2022. You've got to have real improvement.
And the buyout's down now. So they went the opposite route of A&M.
I don't understand how Sam Pittman is still coaching for Arkansas. I don't understand it. I love Sam Pittman.
Maybe they're just trying to make it work as long as it's like that couple that they just try and stay together. Like it's just been, it's gone bad. It's not looking good, but maybe there's that one spark. Oh, hey, remember we're driving by that pond, the one that, we fell in love by. Like maybe just that one spark.
Or maybe.
No love pond.
Or maybe it gets worse. Right?
Yeah, it's like, man, you're going to yoga a lot these days.
Yeah.
Well, at least your strength of schedule.
Why are you playing tennis?
At least you have a good strength of schedule when it comes to
Yeah, why are you hanging out at the Chicago Blackhawks locker room?
Yeah.
One question to you guys. One thing else. Where's KJ Jefferson going to go?
You tell us, man.
I mean, dude, I don't know. Like
State?
it
got an opening.
KJ Jefferson went to Ohio State.
I don't see it.
I don't think he's good enough.
I think he's good enough.
Oh,
I think he's good enough.
No.
I think he's good enough. I don't know. We'll see. Who the hell knows? Who knows?
I caught a lot of flack for not putting him in my top 10 in the quarterback list preseason, but
you ended up being right.
That's one list we need to go back and look at.
Yeah, we do need to go back.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I had Will Rogers.
Yeah, I could tell you did. David had that list up pulled up.
Yeah, no, David.
Every KJ.
There was a note that David wrote himself this morning and said, make sure to bring up KJ Jefferson.
I thought I threw that thing away.
No.
Appreciate it, Matthew.
Throw it away.
Woo pig suey, brother.
All right, see you, bud. Have
Thanks,
your
buddy.
weekend.
All right, we got 2 more callers. Let's get to them both. Carson, a.k.a. the designated driver.
Wow.
Alabama. DD,
My favorite type of guy.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. I'm calling from Dothan, Alabama.
Let's get it.
Oh, dude.
Neck of the woods.
Yeah, Dothan,
I know where you
Northview.
are.
Nick Saban, I do not think will retire. I think that's copium for the rest of college football.
I love that word, copium.
I don't think Terry wants him to retire either. I think they love being in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
But the other reason I wanted to call is with Alabama getting into the playoffs and Florida State being left out. I think it's going to be a great story. Silver lining, maybe just because I'm an Alabama fan and I want to be able to say there's a silver lining for Florida State. But Jordan Travis is probably my favorite college football player right now. He is, like y'all were talking about Tiger Woods on the podium, he is so buttoned up.
Mm-hmm.
He just seems like a great young man.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have a lot of guys like him in college football, especially ones that people look up to. And I think that this gives him an opportunity to kind of be that Cinderella story next year that everyone's going to be looking at. And I think everyone's going to be rooting for him, and I think he's the right guy for everyone to be rooting for.
Yeah, and that's I think Jordan does a great job. I think Jaden Daniels is another guy who does a really good job of presenting himself and keeping it professional. To me, though, Carson, that makes me hurt worse for him. Like a guy that did it the right way, that, went down the way he went down against North Alabama, and then he literally said he wished he had broken his leg earlier in the season so that the committee would have believed more in Florida State, or they could. I mean, you talk about the ultimate team guy. I feel like not that you should get rewarded only for just being a team guy or presenting yourself well, but you do that mixed with going 13-0. I hate it for the young man, and I hate it for that team, but I do see what you're saying. That's an interesting way to look at it. I'll say this. I'm very, very interested to see how Florida State bounce back next year with Mike Norvell. Because I know on the recruiting trail, this is going to hurt them bad. This is going to hurt them. This is going to hurt everybody. If you're Clemson, it hurts you. If you're North Carolina, it hurts you. If you're Virginia Tech, it hurts you. Because right now, you look like the little kid at the party. Like, why did we let this freshman in here?
Does
like,
it hurt
you're not
Clemson
good enough.
that much, though? Do you think it hurt Clemson just with the national championship?
Yeah, I think it did.
You know, just the natties they've won and the standard they've been at.
I think it did.
An undefeated Clemson, right, if that happened to their quarterback, doesn't get in the playoff?
I think so. Clemson versus Alabama, I think they're going to put Alabama in.
I mean, it's funny we're having that conversation because, like I said, when I was growing up, Clemson was like, you didn't think about college football. Like, Florida State was the best brand going. Chris Winkie winning the Heisman Trophy, national championship.
But not only a great look for Jordan Travis, but it's another great look for NFL scouts looking at Jordan Travis.
Without a doubt.
Right? You want to talk about, one, a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal quarterback. You watch him grow throughout the year. But just a guy who's steady when adversity's at its highest. That's the guy you want in the quarterback position.
Hey, Carson, give us 10 seconds real quick on how you think this Rose Bowl is going to go.
Oh, David, I don't want to say anything to jinx it, but I think we match up okay. It'll be, can we stop Blake Corum? It'll depend on if we can stop Blake Corum.
Well, Carson, man, call in again.
Carson, great call, dude.
Hey, enjoy
the show.
Thanks, man. Wiregrass, what's up? If you know, you know.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. All right, one more. Hey, Adam in Washington, we got 30 seconds here, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, boys, I'm calling in because a coworker of mine brought up an idea that I thought was really interesting, and it was to prevent all the NIL money essentially going to the teams that have the most money and being able to create the super teams again. And his idea was tiers. So essentially you have, let's say, 5 tier 1 players that you can designate on your team, and they can't make more than $1 million. Tier 2, you get 10 players. They can't make more than $250,000, and so on and so forth. What do you guys think of that?
So that's one way to do a salary cap.
It's a version of
That's a version of the salary cap, which, listen, at this point, Adam, I'll just take some rules, bro. I'll just take some rules. Like, it's, again, I'm past the point of this is the best way to do it, because I know they're not going to do it. They never do that. Government never does that. Industry never does that. Business never does that. Like, at this point, can we just put a rule in there? I mean, the NCAA right now, it's gotten to the point where I'm having to praise the NCAA for going to bat in court to try and keep guys from transferring every single year.
And it gets overturned.
It gets overturned. Will Wade, the old LSU basketball coach, I don't know if y'all saw this, who's the head coach of McNeese State, was like, do you think that the NCAA or anybody is going to win any of these court battles when they're going against the player? That's not going to work. There's not a judge that's going to turn it down. And he's exactly right.
And that's to your point, Adam. What you just said is a very good and rational solution to some of the things that we've seen in college athletics. But the NCAA is not going to institute that policy. And even if they did, a federal judge would issue a temporary restraining order, just like we just saw with the transfer portal last week. And it would go nowhere. That's why they're desperate for Congress to act. That's why we had Senator Ted Cruz on here and Senator Tommy Tuberville. And I hate that we've gotten to a point where the government has to get involved in college football.
Anytime the government gets involved in anything, they screw it up. But, I mean, it's some...
So you don't think Ted Cruz would go for something like this?
No, I think Ted Cruz... I think there's some people that would, but just in aggregate, you're not going to have enough. The amount of antitrust lawsuits that would come out of this thing would make your head spin. That's the worst thing, the worst part about them letting... Not that there is NIL, but they let it out with no guardrails. Not that there is the transfer portal, but they let it out with no guardrails, right? So, like, you can't put it... Go ahead.
I'm just saying, do you think we're moving back to where Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas A&M are just going to be the top teams because they have the most money to give out to
I
players.
don't think we ever left.
I think what almost cancels that out is the transfer portal. Like, I really do. I think transfer portal can.
But NIL's in the transfer portal. That's where the biggest contracts are going to be signed is in the transfer portal.
I agree, but Jake, I do think we've kind of left that because, like you guys said, this is the first year where we've seen about 8 teams that could legitimately compete for a national championship.
Adam, but is that, again, what did they say? Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I've got to see if this is the anomaly year. Or can we have a couple years like this back to back? And Adam, I hope so.
Because some of this could be because of the extra COVID eligibility too. When you look at what Michael Penix Jr. has done for Washington and had additional years.
Dylan Gabriel, Bo Nix.
So, anyway, hopefully we can keep it going though.
I hope we can, man.
I'm a Ducks fan, guys. I see the transfer portal helping us a lot.
Sure. Well, you're behind enemy lines then.
Walter Nolan possibly yeah, I am. But I still want to see. I want to see what happens with their restrictions on transfer portals, but especially the NIL and kids coming out of high school. That's what I'm interested to see is how are these 5-stars and 4-stars getting paid out of high school.
No, without a doubt.
I got one more question for you, boys.
Go ahead.
Did you guys see Chip Kelly's clip?
Fantastic.
We're going to play it this week. Yeah.
We're going to react to it this week. I thought it was fantastic.
I love Chip, man.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something I just wanted to get your guys' opinion
I was happy to hear it, man. It's going to take more guys like that who are living it. He's living it every day. That's his job. That's his livelihood. It's going to take more guys like that coming up with solutions and everybody getting together and let's implement.
I hope so. That'd be a first. But Adam, thanks so much, buddy.
Great call, Adam.
All right, we're going to get to the Booster Club here in a second. I do want to get to bets. Oh, man. By the way, when he said I am, I just kept thinking about that Nacho Libre song. I am. Isn't that Nacho Libre?
That is Nacho Libre.
All right, tonight, we got college football, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I know we've got Monday night football in the NFL, and I love football as much as anybody. All right, but you know what I love the most? College football, because it's the best. # never forget. Old Dominion, Western Kentucky tonight. Austin Reed not playing for Western Kentucky. I know Old Dominion's best defensive player is out, but this Western Kentucky team underachieved more than Biden's kid. So give me Old Dominion -5. That's at -110. Then I'm going to take the under because Austin Reed's not playing. I know Western Kentucky's defense, they got more holes than a Swiss cheese convention, but give me the under at 51. That's at -110. David.
All right, I'm going to take Western Kentucky +5.
Ooh.
We're on opposite sides of that one. Then how about the Seahawks +3.5, -139? Is Jalen Hurts going to play tonight?
He's questionable. He's questionable. He's got a sickness.
You said +3.5. That's +139? +3.5?
-139.
-139. Say God Almighty.
All right, give me a little FTDS first touchdown score. Give me Dallas Goedert +1,700.
Oh, your boy.
First touchdown.
You hit Sam Laporta yesterday.
Old Sammy boy hit it, and I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to take the over in the West Kentucky Old Dominion game.
I don't like that.
At 51. That's going off at -110.
By the way, the new markers, Justine, are fantastic.
You did it.
We did it.
You did it.
We did it.
Look what
you want to go for 8?
DK Metcalf, anytime touchdown.
Whoa.
+140.
By the way, shout out James Cook for hitting my anytime touchdown yesterday.
Man, he's playing good.
Dude, he was always good.
Is he going to be better than Dalvin?
Good. Is he?
I mean, can you say that like that confidently that quickly?
You can say it with that much.
Hold on, ask me again.
Is James Cook going to be better than Dalvin Cook?
Yes.
Wow. All right.
And Penguins, money line, -120 on the ice.
Going back to it, huh?
Ace is.
Oh, Ace Money.
Not me.
Yeah, Ace Money.
I get the fat out of your ears.
I get it.
All right, what do we got in the Booster Club?
Go to Sean Ketstever with the $5 donation. Sean, appreciate it, brother. Opinions on Oregon State with Trent Bray as head coach. What do you think of their schedule of 2024? Also, the Lady Baller merch is great.
It is great, isn't it? Number 2, with Oregon State.
Pulling up their schedule.
With Oregon State and Washington State right now, it's just so weird. Like, it's just such a weird situation. Like, we'll see how Trent does. But
this is what they got. They got Idaho week 1 at home. You go to San Diego State week 2. Oregon at home week 3. Purdue at home week 4. You're going to the California Golden Bears. And you have Washington State at home. At Boise. At Air Force.
It's in the Mountain West.
Such a weird.
They're in the Mountain West. They're in the Mountain West.
At Nevada. Colorado State at home.
Oh, they're 100% in the Mountain West. Let's just do it.
And UNLV.
Let's just do it. Just join it, right? Officially. They haven't officially joined it yet. I think that schedule's pretty
Too much pride.
manageable, man. But, I mean, they said y'all were the ugly chick, so we'll see. I mean, I've got to watch him operate. I've got to see how they kind of bounce back. Do they use that kind of what happened as the underdog role to push them forward, or do they say, well, maybe we are just average and just kind of blend in with it? But it's going to be interesting with that schedule.
I was going to Chase Mills, $5 donation, been doing my whole life. She says, did you guys catch Bryce Mitchell being KO'd by Josh Emmett this weekend?
I missed that.
He was convinced Kasung afterward. I don't know what that means. Maybe the worst KO I've ever seen. I did see this KO.
He slept him?
Really?
Not only did he sleep him, but boy, we're having seizures.
Bryce was?
On the mat.
I like Bryce.
It was one of the most brutal knockouts.
Was it a leg or a hand?
I think it was a hand. I think he caught him with a Ricky.
Oh, is that like a true Ricky?
Man, I'm going to have to watch that right now.
It was bad.
Did y'all watch Colby Covington's fight?
I did not watch it because usually every Colby Covington fight is the boringest thing I've ever watched.
It went to decision, right? Leon Edwards?
Yeah, Leon. And I know we didn't talk about what Colby's saying that about his dad. What a punk, man.
Yeah, we're going to react to that later
this
week.
Man.
Like, what? I mean...
What
we're trying to sell the fight, like I get it, but like that's
some
stuff
things are Some things are too far. Let's go to Justin Alferetti. You already hit this $2 donation. Thoughts on Tom Allen as Penn State of DC?
Yep.
Let's go to Jacob O'Brien with the $5 donation. Jacob, appreciate it. Switch to the NFL quickly. Do you think my guy Colts will make the playoffs? The AFC race has been wild. Is Shane Steichen up for Coach of the Year?
You know, everybody talks about DeMeco Ryans. Like in what he's done and with the Texans, I know it's a different situation than the Colts, but like think about all the BS the Colts had to go through with Steichen in year one. The stuff with Jonathan Taylor, then Anthony Richardson goes down, and you're sitting right here. I think Steichen's got a little bit of that dog.
They could win the division.
They could. I think they do make the playoffs. It's so hard not to root for Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
it's look, it's me out there. Like, it just worked. It's Vince Papale. Right? It's like, how's this working? I mean,
Gardner Minshew's a dog.
He's a dog. I was a dog at Washington State, but like you look at him and you're like, it's like when I see anybody that's under 6'3" in the NBA. I'm like, dude.
Don't try to push Europeans on here, Jake.
I'm not, dude. Let's
go to James Stalling. Last donation of the day, $5 donation. Appreciate it, James. Hey, guys, a reminder that there's not 25 basketball teams better than Auburn Tigers.
By the way, they beat USC to sleep.
What a win.
Aiden Holloway is like, just shoot it. Every time. Shoot it. Every time.
Chase Mills with the $2 donation. My bad. I meant to say convulsing. I got what you said.
Well,
I got what you said. All right, let's get to the poll. Will Nick Saban retire if they win the Natty?
No.
Yes.
What percentage?
Or no?
63%.
I'm going to say they said no, 64%.
No, 67.
Wow, we're on it.
Yes.
Feeling the pulse.
Yeah,
feeling the pulse.
You're mind-mouthing.
All right, so if you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're on Rumble,
welcome.
Make sure, welcome to it. Also, go check out the merch that we have, our Crane & Company hoodie.
Go grab those hoodies.
There's some great stuff in there as well. Make sure you check out our friends at Genius Cell and Masterclass. Use those promo codes. We really appreciate you guys. Christmas is on the way, and like the chances of me not getting great presents, we're going.
Make a play, kid.
Hey! Ooh, gone. You love to see it on a Monday.